How you doing, Dr. Ulysses Jackson? Welcome back to another discussion on Mental Health Monday. Today we're going to discuss the journey and transitioning in life. What was your transition? How did that work for you? And are you still working on your transition? You know, as we were young growing up, people would say to us stuff like, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And most of us would say, I want to be a fireman. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a nurse. I don't remember at any point in my classroom when I was younger growing up where someone said, I want to be a drug addict. I want to be an alcoholic and go to AA meetings. I never seen that. I've always seen people having high aspirations in life, but then life shows up. But we all have our own journey and our own particular story that we say. So today's short topic is going to be on what was your transitional journey? Transitioning from being that person you was to the transition of becoming the person you want to be or who you currently are today, right? Now, most of the time we say to ourselves, I want to be, you aspire high, and that's the right thing to do because no one sees the bad part of this. A lot of times I get kind of, I don't really find a lot of joy no more in saying what I did and what my transition was and how I became, a PhD doctor and things of that nature. I don't like to really discuss it because I feel like I've reached a plateau where I'm comfortable with it. But I hear my peers, I hear my colleagues, and I hear some of my friends say, Doc, you got something to say, and let them know. And as we could say, bring it back in today's world with social media, how to get to the bag. You know what I'm saying? They want to know. They don't want to just see you there with it. They want a step-by-step guide on how you did it. And I have some colleagues and some friends and even some people that I meet that know that I had experience with substance use. They know that I've had experience with jail. And they want to know, how did you make it through all of that and get to where you at? And when I say it once, I told one of my marketing brothers, I said, I did that. I said that already. She said, but Doc, you had 1,500 people on your YouTube page at that time following you. You got almost 3,000, which means it's almost another 1,000 plus people that don't know your story. My energy is, well, let them go back, but I got to check myself. That's the total self-centeredness, which is another part of a character defect of just wanting to keep it all for myself. When what I have today, it was so freely given to me. So I'm not going to go back into a step-by-step and how I got to where I am, but I will say it was a transition in life. And it all started with decisions and choices. When I made the decision over 30 years ago to not use substances, weed, alcohol, nothing, cocaine, nothing. When I made that decision, I was like, life's gonna be a bore. Life's gonna be over with. What's partying and having fun with people, especially females, without no drugs involved? I said, how is that gonna work? Because that became my regular, that became my norm. That it was substance, it was relationships, it was partying, and I associated my turn up and my lit and my good time with substance use. So once I came to the realization that that wasn't gonna cut it, that wasn't the money, I had to put something down. That's a choice that I made. Some of us make them choices early in life, some of us make it later in life. But I made that choice. They say, you know what? I don't think substances is good for me. When I smoked weed back in the days, I played Sega Genesis. I would go to the supermarket, I get every cereal, Fruit Loops, Captain Crunch, Crunch Berries, and I would just get high, play video games, eat Now or Laters, and trap, play video games. That's what it meant to me. Being a doctor, PhD, clinical researcher, that wasn't on the table. Nowhere near on the table. Because the total self-centeredness and me breaking from that was the transition that I had went through and I wasn't ready to go through. So I kind of sat in my shit, as we could say. I sat in all I could do was hustle. All I could do is, and it was other things that was there. So I had to say to myself, what did I like about being stuck in that area and what didn't I like? And the one thing I didn't like is when I was at this job, right? They would always tell us, you have 2 to 3 weeks vacation, right? So I'm like, great. But every time I would go to my boss, the director, and I would say, hey, I want to go on vacation for these days, and I want to go away on this time. She would always say, great, mark it in the calendar. And to get someone to cover your group. In my mind, I'm saying, fuck, what are you talking about? I got this 2 to 3 week vacation. I'm taking it here. She'd be like, no, you have to get coverage for the group. I'm like, but I work here. You're a big organization. This is my vacation time, 2 to 3 weeks. I'm putting in my time now. Have at it. Then I had to be sat down and told, it's something called respect. It's something called abandoning your group. It's something called accountability that you have to, but I'm like, but y'all own this business. And y'all told me I get this time. Why do I have to get 2 and 3 approvals on the date, the time? I didn't like it. But you know what? It was part of my transition and my motivation. So you know what I said? I said, well, what's going to put me in charge of that? I said, I got to be my own boss. I love counseling. I love doing this type of stuff, but what's going to make me run my business the way I want to run it? Because right now I work for them. So I got to do things according to how they see fit. I said, I want to be my boss one day. How can I do that? So I started looking at how my boss would always say, we're short-staffed and, you have to sign up for a vacation day in time. So I said, okay, let me get a roadmap and start mapping out what is it going to take for me to run my own business. And I got to hit y'all again with the disclaimer. Please, anything I say, do not take it as a therapeutic session. Take it as an informational discussion. In no way do you replace this with therapy or seeing a therapist or your counselor. Go to them. This is just a discussion that we embark on. And I want to ask y'all during this discussion, and you could type in below or respond, what was your journey like in transitioning? Did you become that fireman? Did you become that police officer? Did you become that school teacher? Did you become that doctor? If so, what was your journey? Because these are the journeys of inspiration on how did you get there? Because your story might touch someone so profound that they like, you know what, man? If Ulysses did it, if she did it, then I can do it. And it's never too late, man. I would be the oldest person in the class sometimes. And it was discouraging, but then it was motivating. Because I looked around, I said, you know what? I can't fail. I can't just want an a C or a B. I got to get an A. I got to achieve higher because I had blew so much time doing other stuff. So I had to say, what's my transition looking like? So again, this is not clinical in nature, this conversation, man. This is something for y'all to hold on and to add on to. Because somebody right now might be saying, I'm thinking about going back to college. This is where that journaling comes in. Check your financial aid. See if you owe. Somebody I knew that I was talking to about 3 months ago, they were one class away from getting a bachelor's in psychology. They had put it off since 2017 and never went back because they didn't take the time to check. And they said, well, I can't get financial aid. The class was something like 3 credits, and whatever the number was for the credit, all he had to do was pay that. He let over 5 years go because he didn't think about checking with financial aid how far he was. He felt like, I'm a college dropout. But he didn't know how close he was to the goal. How about sometimes we have to reflect on the journey. Sometimes we have to ask and humble ourselves. Yo, Doc, what did you do to get to where you got? Because like I said, in my journey, when I was putting together what it would take to be my own boss, it came with some things. And now I got a master's in mental health counseling. I have a PhD in clinical research that makes me the clinical doctor. So then I had to look and say, what's going to make me be my own boss? First thing that I saw was I needed that master's in counseling. It's part of my journey. So I got that. I put that in the bag. I'm a doctor. Boom. I got a master's in counseling. The next thing was I had to pass a state board exam, which basically is almost covered in every state, which is the LMHC, which is the Licensed Mental Health Counselor exam. Board certified. I had to study for this test, and I had to pass this test. And this test it wasn't easy because it was on the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, the DSM-5, and all the disorders. So if you come at me and you got schizophrenia, bipolar, anxiety, depression. I'm supposed to be able to point that out. And a whole slew of other disorders. I have to be able to snap at a finger and point them out before I misdiagnose you. So I had to study to pass that test. So I said, I'm in it. I got a master's in counseling. I'm in it. Let me keep going. So I'm studying for the licensed mental health counseling exam. I get that. Become a licensed mental health counselor. The next thing was when I went to do the application, it said, have you ever been convicted of a misdemeanor or a felony? I clicked yes to that. Whole box opened up. Pages. Please explain. Every misdemeanor, every felony. Man, I got a book. I'm saying, damn, was this the right profession for me? I'm discouraged. But I remember with so many people before me that been through this, so I said, know what? I ain't gonna stop. I'm gonna keep it pushing. So I started answering the questions. Lo and behold, that I didn't know was the felonies or the misdemeanors were so far ago, they couldn't count them against me. So now I cleared the criminal background check. So now I got my doctorate, I got my master's in mental health counseling. Now I'm going up to the exam. The next step was passing it, which is a whole nother story. I had to keep going and going until I finally passed that. But then once I passed that, I had to have some money to start a PLLC. Now I've heard about corporations, I heard about LLCs, but I didn't know what a PLLC was. So I got a degree in clinical research. So what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go figure out what a PLLC. A PLLC is a professional limited liability corporation, which means you hold a license and a concentration that you're gonna put this on. All this, I didn't know I was gonna go through all of this, but yet, remember, I didn't want nobody to be my boss. So these are the steps in the journey that I went through. So now, I got the master, I got the PhD, I cleared the criminal background check, I passed the test, now I'm licensed. There's so much joy that it's unbearable right now how I'm feeling. But what I realized was, once I started the PLLC, I had to come up with a name, which was Dr. Ulysses Jackson. Then I had to register it. Now I'm sitting here and I'm a doctor and I got a registered name and everything. Next phase. You know what the next phase was? You got to get on insurance panels. So then they allow you to pick the insurance panel. And for those that know, you have to do your CAQH, which is you have to be verified that the state you're in, that you've passed all the requirements to be licensure and be accepted on an insurance platform. And for those that's not a doctor or provider on the medical field, you wouldn't know, but check out the hit. I was never in none of this. So how would I know? I don't have a mentor walking me step by step on how to do this, but yet, look, what I did do. Through social media, Facebook mainly, I started connecting with people that were in places that I wanted to be. And I met a lot of women that was like, come on, I'm gonna grab your hand and go. And I don't just always say her name to do it, but Amir Martin, man, she was like a blessing out the sky. She came through and said, hey, listen, I see what you're doing. I see what you're trying to do, and I got you. And I looked at her resume, it was sick. She did it all. LCSW, licensed clinical social worker in the state of New York, private practice, bad people working with her. Man, I was like, wow. And she reached out to me. So now I'm humble. I'm very humble. I'm like, yo, what I need to do? When I check out the money. She grabbed my hand and walked me through the point where she said, know what? Now you could open your own private practice. You could keep all the money yourself now. If you ever need me, just call. Because on this journey called life and this transition, we're going to meet some people that's going to be inspiring. We're going to meet some people that that really got your back. That ain't sitting on the line saying, forget her, or he's a hater, or she's a hater. So by doing that, it opened up the door for me to start to write down my bucket list on some places I want to go, some people I want to meet, and some things that I want to do. That don't mean that I cut anybody off that I grew up with. Nah, it means that I've reached a certain plateau and goal setting where I'm at in life today. Because listen, the living ain't done for me yet. It was more than a 12-by-6 cell or going to a 12-step meeting, raising my hand saying, yo, when is it going to get better? And at that time, man, me and my girlfriend, you know, when I was going through what I was going through, trying to walk this journey, and she was there with me. We had my son. Some nights we would talk, and I'd be like, I know you want better now, and I can't give you better right now. I said, but what I can promise is that it'll be greater later if I stay on this path. And she, but she stayed with me. That's why everything I do, I'm not a backbiting, you know, type of person, man. I'm a friend to the end. I'm like Chucky. That's why I keep my associates as associates, my friends as my friend, because if I consider you a friend, I'm gonna go out with you. But I'm also gonna give you the same energy that you give me. Now, some people may have been with you on the beginning of your journey and might not be at the end. Because this thing called transition, we go. It's like me wanting to be a police officer or FBI agent, and all my friends hustle. They hooray and cheer for me to become what I want to be, but now our lifestyles contradict each other. So what's your transition in life? Did you make it? Are you done? Does the journey seem too far ahead? Do you need somebody to talk to about putting things in order? You know, these are the things that we look at. So if I want to be a martial art expert, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to hang out with other people that do martial arts and UFC fighters. If I want to be a doctor and a top clinical researcher, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to hang out with people that do the things that I want to do and try to become, you know what I'm saying, what they are. I want to emulate them, you know? So again, man, it's Dr. Ulysses Jackson. What was your transitional journey? And if you want to be somewhere where somebody else is, ask them, you know, what was the journey like? What was the struggle like? What was the pros and cons? What was the ups and downs? How did you get there? Again, Dr. Ulysses Jackson, man, I really appreciate y'all tuning in to me on another Mental Health Monday for us to have this discussion on the transitional journey you went through and how you could help somebody else. Dr. Ulysses Jackson.